Narrowboats, quaint floating homes or potential disasters waiting to happen. Today we're diving into a wild tale that'll make you think twice about life on Britain's canals.
Oh, you've got my attention. What kind of disaster are we talking about here?
Picture this: a 72-foot narrowboat barely afloat being navigated through locks barely wider than the boat itself. And that's just the beginning of this nautical nightmare.
That sounds like trying to thread a needle while riding a unicycle. How does someone even end up in that situation?
Well, it all started when my colleague JD bought a narrowboat to live on. He'd had it for just a few weeks when he came back from the pub one evening to find it completely submerged in the river.
Wait, what? The whole boat was underwater? That's not exactly a great start to canal life.
Exactly. And this was after he'd been told it was recently renovated. So naturally, he needed to get it to a dry dock for inspection, and that's where I came in. Little did I know what I was getting myself into.
I'm sensing this wasn't just a peaceful day of canal cruising. What kind of challenges did you face?
Well, first off, we had to navigate this massive vessel through locks that were barely 7 feet wide. It's like trying to parallel park a bus in a bike rack, and to make matters worse, the boat was listing badly, tilting to one side and slowly filling with water.
That sounds incredibly stressful. Did you have any specialised equipment to help manage the situation?
Not exactly. Our toolkit consisted of a bucket, some sandwiches, and, get this, a bottle of wine, which, believe it or not, ended up being crucial to our survival.
A bottle of wine. Now that's an unconventional nautical tool. How on earth did that come in handy?
Well, we discovered that a vent pipe on the side was underwater and letting in even more water. In a moment of wine-inspired brilliance, we realized the cork was exactly the right size to plug the leak. So naturally, we had to empty the bottle first, purely for practical reasons, of course.
Oh, I'm sure it was entirely practical. So did your cork engineering save the day?
It certainly helped, but we weren't out of troubled waters yet. Things took an even more interesting turn when JD decided to go to the front of the boat for a cigarette and ended up, well, taking an unexpected swim.
No way, he fell overboard. What did you do?
Well, I may have accidentally dragged him through some riverside vegetation while trying to regain control of the boat. In my defense, it's hard to steer straight when you're laughing that hard.
That's hilarious and terrifying at the same time. I can't believe you managed to keep going after all that. How did you deal with the constant water problem?
We got creative. You know how necessity is the mother of invention? Well, we figured out how to use the engine's cooling system as a makeshift pump by redirecting the water intake to pull from inside the boat instead of the canal.
That's actually pretty ingenious. Did it work?
It did, but not before we caused a minor crisis at a staircase of locks. We accidentally drained an entire section of canal trying to get unstuck from a lock, kept opening upstream locks to get more water, not realizing we were setting off alarms at the canal authority.
Oh no, that sounds like it could have serious consequences. Did you get in trouble?
Well, the lockkeeper came cycling over in such a fury. I thought we were going to end up in boat jail, but somehow we managed to talk our way out of it, though I'm pretty sure we're now legendary in canal keeper circles and not in a good way.
I can imagine. So did you at least make it to your destination without any more incidents?
Not exactly. We managed to crash full speed into a steel dredger at a T-junction. Picture this: peaceful afternoon, fishermen quietly enjoying their day, and then bam, we come barreling in like a nautical wrecking ball.
That's absolutely wild. It's like something out of a slapstick comedy. What was the final outcome of this adventure?
Well, we did eventually make it to the dry dock, but that's where the real tragedy unfolded. The inspection revealed the boat had never been renovated at all. The timbers were completely rotten. Then some vandals got to it with an axe and JD ended up abandoning it entirely.
Oh, that's such a sad ending to what started as someone's dream of living on the water. Though it does make for an incredible story.
You know, it really does. And it's given me a whole new appreciation for canal boat owners. Every time I see one now smoothly navigating through a lock, I wonder if they're hiding their own tales of cork-based engineering and accidental swimming experiences.
It really makes you think about all the untold stories floating along Britain's waterways, doesn't it? Do you think this experience has changed how you view canal life?
Absolutely. There's this whole subculture of canal life that most people never see. The lock politics, the unwritten rules, the creative problem solving that happens when you're miles from help with a sinking boat. It's like a secret society of nautical MacGyvers out there.
That's fascinating. It sounds like there's a lot more to canal boat life than just picturesque views and a slower pace of living.
Oh, you have no idea. It's a world of its own, with its own challenges and triumphs. And let me tell you, after that experience, I have nothing but respect for the people who make it their lifestyle.
So, what would you say is the biggest lesson you took away from this adventure?
Well, aside from always get a survey before buying a boat and don't drink wine while navigating locks, I'd say it's that sometimes the best stories come from the most unexpected places, and that with a little creativity and a lot of luck, you can get through just about anything.
That's a great takeaway. Do you think you'll ever venture onto a narrowboat again?
You know, despite everything, the sinking, the crashing, the accidental swimming, I wouldn't rule it out entirely. There's something oddly appealing about the challenge and the camaraderie of canal life, but maybe next time I'll stick to being a passenger rather than an accidental captain.
Well, I have to say, you've given me a whole new perspective on canal boats, and maybe a slight fear of narrow locks.
Trust me, after that experience, whenever I see a narrowboat gliding peacefully through a lock now, I give the captain a knowing nod, because behind that serene scene, there might just be someone frantically bailing water with a bucket and a wine cork.
It's amazing how often everyday objects become lifesavers in these situations. Any final thoughts on your Grand Canal adventure?
Well, I'd say if you're ever offered the chance to help move a narrowboat, maybe ask a few more questions before you agree. But also, don't be afraid to say yes to unexpected adventures. Just make sure you bring a good sense of humour and maybe an extra cork or two.